Hey everyone, it's Pat with Seattle Coffee Gear, and we are here today to take a look at a very exciting new machine. I've got the 4300 from Phillips here today. This is the new model on the Phillips Superauto line, so it's going to include machines like the Carina and the 3200, the 3200 Latte Go. So this machine is the new one, and there is a Latte Go version that is coming as well, but for us today we have the Panarello version. So when you look at this machine for the first time, you're obviously going to notice the screen here, which is the biggest new feature of this machine and what it gives you control over. But taking a look at the rest of the case, it looks very similar to other machines in this Phillips line. We've got things like this front-loading water tank. We've got your same drip tray that you would expect from the other Phillips machines. So it's got your drip tray, your waste container, and the little floater here that tells you that the drip tray is full. And then it's going to have the adjustable brew head here. You've got your bean hopper up here, the bypass doser, and this passive cup warmer that's going to radiate some heat from the boiler. So even the controls up here look pretty similar to what you might be familiar with like the 3200 or the Carina, but it's this screen right here and all of the things that it kind of enables you to do with the machine and the new stuff that the machine can tell you that really make this machine something special. So what we have are two profiles. We've got a blue profile, a green profile, and then there's also a guest profile that doesn't save anything. And what you can do is when you go to brew one of your drinks, you're going to get a range of controls. So at a base level, we have the espresso shot, which is exactly what it sounds like, just a shot of espresso. We have a coffee, which on this machine, like other super automatics, is going to be an espresso puck with additional water pulled through it. So it's not a traditional drip coffee, but it's sort of an approximation of that, and it tastes pretty similar to a pretty wide range of palates. We have an Americano, which is going to be an espresso shot with hot water added to it. We have a Cafe Crema, which is similar to the coffee option here. It's kind of a longer shot, but with different water to coffee ratio. So you can kind of play around with those and see how you like them. We have a ristretto shot, which is going to be a lower amount of water, so it's a more concentrated shot. And then we have hot water functions and steam functions, which we'll get to in a minute. What's cool though is that you have a lot of control over each of these different drinks. So you can control the dose level, which is going to use a different amount of coffee and sort of make it stronger or weaker, although dose isn't directly tied to those things. That's kind of what you can think of it as. And then we've got the size of the drink here. So for like the espresso shot, you can take it down to 1 ounce all the way up to a 3-ounce shot. And then you can control whether you want a single or a double as well. So it'll grind and pull 2 shots if you use the double shot option. And what's neat is these values, as you might expect, change from drink to drink. So we've got our coffee option here. We can control the size going all the way up to 7.4 ounces. We can brew 1 or 2. Same thing with the Americano. So what this does is it kind of demystifies some of the how much am I getting when I do an espresso shot versus a coffee that you would see from other machines in this range and other super autos in general. You're getting a really fine control over a lot of these parameters, which means you can really make the drinks that you want for you. And on top of that, when you brew one of these recipes, when you set a recipe like this, if you have one of the profiles selected, it's going to save that recipe to your profile. So once you dial in the shot you want for your espresso, or once you dial in the perfect amounts for your Americano, it's going to save that. So all you have to do is just hit the button and hit go in the future instead of tweaking all of the settings again. So the reason that we really like this is this kind of control over your drinks and recipe saving is stuff that you usually see on really high-end, more expensive machines. So to bring it into this Phillips line, which is comparatively really affordable, is super exciting, and it's really, really cool. So the other options aside from the specific drinks that you're making is you have the ability to pull some hot water, which is if you're good for tea or if you want to make like a custom Americano with a certain amount of water, add a little extra, what have you. So you can control the amount that you're getting there. And then you can control this temperature setting as well. You'll notice it doesn't have a specific number for the temperature, which may seem frustrating, but it's just because it's so hard to regulate an exact temperature amount that's coming from the boiler through the brew head and out the spout. So they don't give you a specific value here because if you were to measure water coming out of the spout, it would be a little bit different. So just to get a feel for it, you can take some of your own measurements or just kind of play with the settings and see what works for you for different kinds of drinks. And then we've got the steam function. So the steaming on this machine in particular is done with a Panarello wand. Again, there's going to be a Latte Go version of this machine as well. It's really down to personal preference though as to which you like more. I personally prefer the Panarello because it gives you more control over your milk. Instead of just pushing a button and then getting milk of a certain temperature, not that there aren't some parameters you can control with it, but you can really control the full steaming process. The only setting that you have to account for when you're using the Panarello wand is whether you want to set it to the kind of, I like to think of them as the latte option or the cappuccino option, but basically it's less or more foam. And this changes up how much the steam coming through is, how dry the steam is basically, because it has a little nozzle in here that aerates the steam a little more or less. And then it really does give you a different effect. You'll get a drier foam for cappuccinos with the foam option and a kind of more micro foam for lattes with the latte option. It's important to note that it's going to walk you through the process of steaming your milk, but learning some basic steaming techniques is good. The Panarello is a little easier to use than, say, a professional style steam wand that you'd find on a more expensive semi-automatic machine, but it still helps to know some of the principles of steaming. Another cool thing that this machine does when you finish a steaming cycle is it reminds you to disassemble the Panarello wand and clean it, which is really important. One of the biggest mistakes new espresso owners make is you wipe down the steam wand and you think it's done. But inevitably when you are steaming milk with a wand like this, you're going to get a little bit of milk inside of the steam wand, so it's important to take it apart and clean it. And I really like that this machine reminds you to do that every time that you use the steaming function. So the other things that the screen is going to help you get through are some of your cleaning options. So instead of just relying on the machine to do its own rinse cycles, which it'll still do, and it'll still tell you when you need to do certain cleaning steps like other machines, you can also go into the clean menu here and see some options for a quick rinse, brew group clean, a descaling, and then also going through the step-by-step process for replacing your AquaClean filter, which it's going to also ask you to install your filter when you first power up the machine as well. So, we recommend using one of those filters with it so that you limit the amount of time you increase the amount of time between descalings. This clean menu is really nice though, because if you happen to use it a bunch of times and you feel like it needs an extra rinse, or if you just, for peace of mind, want to do the brew group cleaning process, you can just hop into the cleaning menu and it will walk you through those steps. You also get really clear settings with this machine that only a screen can kind of help with for setting things like water hardness. You can change the standby time for how long it takes before it goes to sleep and turns off. You can change the brightness of the screen, set the language. You can turn off the little beeps for when you move through the menu options, which is something that I really appreciate. You can change certain temperature options, but it's really just a low, medium, and high for the reasons that we talked about a minute ago. And then you can also change some of the measuring units if you like to use milliliters or ounces. Your machine might come set to milliliters. You can go in here to change it to ounces if you prefer. And then there's also this other stuff that's more for support and for if you ever need to contact somebody to get help with the machine, which on that note, this machine also gives you really helpful error information when it does have a problem. Oftentimes you'll be able to use that to solve the problem yourself if it's something like a clog or the water tank needing to be cleaned, or perhaps the wrong kind of water being used, so it's not getting not seeing the water in there. Those kinds of things, you're going to get really clear error codes to help understand those. And when it's more complicated issues, it'll help technicians working with you to resolve the issue if they get those error codes to see how the machine's failing. So with that in mind, let's make a drink on this one. So I'm going to make a latte on this today. Obviously there's a bunch of different drink options you can do, but I want to show off the steaming on the Panarello wand. So I'm going to start by steaming my milk. It's up for debate if you should be pulling shots or steaming your milk first, but just for me, I'm going to do that. So we're going to hit steam. It's going to give you a chance to rotate this to whatever your setting you want is. I want to keep it on the kind of latte setting. So you're going to get this little message that tells you how to hold the cup so that you can get good steam, which again is one of these like you'll learn as you do kind of things. It takes a minute to heat up, just like most of these machines do that use Panarello wands. One thing to keep in mind is this machine isn't going to necessarily auto stop. It does have safety features that will make it stop eventually, but you're going to need to push stop yourself. So we're getting some steam. And I'm just feeling the temperature of the steaming pitcher like I would if I was using any other steam wand. These steam wands can take a little bit longer than what you might be used to if you watch someone use a commercial machine. It's just kind of the nature of this sort of wand. We're getting there now. Okay, stop. Espresso shot here. I want to do 1.9 ounces here. I'm going to do a single shot. This dose is fine with me. There you go. As you can see here, it said for a second there the new recipe will be stored in the blue profile. So if I use the blue profile, it'll be the same value. All right, and there's our espresso. Wait for the last couple drips here. And pour my milk. Not gonna get quite the right amount of foam for latte art on this one, but you can get a little closer depending on how your Panarello technique is as you get used to using it. And that is pretty good, I have to say. I'm pretty impressed with the espresso out of this machine and this line in general, given how affordable they are. So that's going to do it for this crew review of the Phillips 4300 Superautomatic Espresso Machine. We're pretty impressed with this machine. It really does a lot for the price point, and we think that you'll be pretty impressed with it too. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure that you drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Add any questions you have to the comments below, and get subscribed to the channel if you aren't, so you can see all of our other videos featuring this machine. We've got plenty of comparisons, a look at the latte go, all that kind of stuff. Thanks so much for watching.